We are taught a very specific story about how to operate in a group. Don't be a follower, be a leader. We treat it as a binary system. One person is supposed to guide, and everyone else is supposed to obey. This setup suggests that followers are weak, but following is not the absence of strength. Choosing to follow is often a conscious act. Yet when an organization hits a difficult patch, leaders often panic. Instinct kicks in, and they tighten their grip. We try to regain stability by adding more rules, creating more instructions, and more complicated strategies. We believe more information will give us more control, but somewhere along the way, the system itself becomes heavier than the problem it was trying to solve. The leader begins to believe they have to carry every single answer. In the pursuit of absolute clarity, the focus shifts. We stop trying to make progress, and we start trying to protect a position. The structure hardens, and the organization freezes. When an organization gets this heavy, the people trapped underneath it begin to change. They slowly realize that their voices no longer matter. People might continue to follow the rules. They will show up, sit in the meetings, and do the paperwork. But emotionally, they just leave the relationship. You get compliance, but you lose real connection. Then the structure begins to fail. Imagine a tense room. A voice rises. A chair moves back. Someone simply refuses to participate. Notice what happens inside a leader in that exact second. Your shoulders rise. Your breathing becomes shallow. Before you even open your mouth, your body is preparing to aggressively defend your authority. A rigid system cannot absorb this kind of pressure. It can only tighten. And when it tightens, it locks everyone in a power struggle until all forward movement completely dies. We must reconsider leadership. Maybe it was never meant to be a permanent position, but a responsibility that moves. In this fluid system, following becomes an act of trust. It's recognizing that another person sees something we cannot, holding an insight we lack. We continuously alternate roles. Sometimes we provide stability, sometimes we guide, and sometimes we let someone else steady us. This doesn't mean no one is in charge. Someone must still make final decisions and protect the group. Responsibility remains clear, without power becoming rigid. By allowing responsibility to continuously shift to wherever it is needed most, the entire group stays adaptable. The organization breathes, rather than breaking under the limits of just one person. Think of this fluid architecture as a breathing container. It's built to hold tension without suffocating movement. First, it must be firm enough to hold. You need explicit boundaries that protect the safety, dignity, and objective of the shared space. Second, it must be open enough to breathe. Individuals need the freedom to choose, the room to speak, and the space to make mistakes without facing immediate punishment. You can see the difference in how we speak. A rigid command says, "You must sit down and pay attention." A fluid boundary says, "You can stay with the group as long as your actions allow others to focus." Take a minute if you need it, and return when you're ready to respect the shared space. The boundary remains, but dignity remains too. The person keeps their agency, which allows you, as the leader, to exercise calm authority and become the steady point in the room, instead of entering a power struggle. You firmly protect the group's objective while preserving the individual's agency to navigate within it. That is the engine that generates continuous momentum. When tension strikes, our long list of complicated strategies disappears. We need a simple process. First, settle. Slow your voice. Release the tension in your body and become calm enough to offer calm to the room instead of carrying unregulated panic. Second, look inward. Before you ask a group what they did wrong, you have to ask yourself what your own tone, your decisions, or your silence added to the friction. Third, seek to understand. Look for the hidden vulnerabilities beneath the bad behavior. Maybe it was pride or fear of embarrassment. Then help that person look beyond their own frustration and see the impact their choices had on others. Finally, repair. Ask them what they can do to make things right. When you do this, accountability stops being a punishment. It becomes an actual responsibility. When tension is processed through repair rather than humiliation, conflict stops being a wall that blocks the group. It becomes the way forward. But that repair is entirely incomplete if we continue to define someone by the harm they caused, long after the consequence is completed. After responsibility, there has to be a path back into belonging, a chance to return, a chance to contribute again, and a chance to prove through action that one painful moment does not have to become a permanent identity. When the pressure rises, every leader must eventually face the same question: what am I really trying to protect? The people in the room or my position within it? The strongest, most enduring organizations are not rigid structures built on obedience. They are fluid containers that share responsibility. They hold tension without ever taking away their people's ability to breathe.